I'm back, and it just got real good. Hello, my fam. It is Perez, the queen of all media, the original influencer, and your number one source for everything It Ends With Us saga. As I shared with you earlier, Justin Baldoni's attorney went to Judge Lyman to file a motion to compel. Hand over all the Van Zan of it all that they submitted in a subpoena to the Swift Repellent months ago. April 21st, to be exact. Van Zan is the company that either she or Cesspool are the owners of, which they used to obtain all the text messages and emails from his publicist, Jen Abel, at her former company. I'm going to go into it a different way. Baldoni used to be repped by a PR company called JonesWorks. The head of JonesWorks was Stephanie Jones. Last summer, Stephanie Jones fired her employee, Jen Abel, who was working on the Baldoni Wayfarer account. Stephanie Jones, the head of JonesWorks PR agency, got word that Jen Abel was going to start her own company. So instead of an amicable parting of ways, bad boss Stephanie Jones took Jen Abel's laptop and cell phone and, according to the Baldoni Wayfarer parties, improperly received all her texts and emails, including confidential and personal information. And according to the Baldoni Wayfarer parties, that very same day, Subpoena Serena's publicist, the infamous Leslie Sloan, found out about at least some of the contents of what was said in those texts and messages. Sloan then reached out to Melissa Nathan, who not that long prior was hired by Baldoni to work as his crisis PR expert. Fully caught up and understand everything? If you don't, I can explain it all in the comments section. So, the basement manager knew that she intended to sue Baldoni months before she filed her complaint in December. It is rumored that way prior to filing her lawsuit, Cruella Lively already had Jen Abel's texts and emails because Stephanie Jones willingly, happily handed them over, and theories include that Stephanie Jones conspired with Delulu to get us to where we are today. However, that may not have happened. What definitely did happen is that the Penguin expert filed a lawsuit through her Van Zan sham company, a shell organization. Really rich people do that stuff all the time. To protect them, their assets, they have a ton of businesses and corporations, and they're incorporated in Delaware, etc., etc. She filed this complaint in the fall through Van Zan without naming herself or without naming Justin or Jen Abel or any of the Wayfarer parties. This sham lawsuit, seemingly for breach of contract, allowed her to get legally the texts and emails of Jen Abel, which she might have already had in her possession illegally, perhaps. After the Van Zan subpoena was served and she had an excuse for legally being in possession of the communications, she then withdrew that complaint. Rich. Isn't it grand? Isn't it great? Isn't it swell? So, that leads us to now. As I mentioned in my video from earlier today, Jen Abel, his publicist, filed a motion with the court to compel all of sexual harassment's Van Zan information. The subpoena, shareholders, anything related to Van Zan. And in a sign of good faith, Baldoni and Abel's attorney told the judge that they streamlined their requests. They narrowed it to just seeking only the identities of the Van Zandt shareholders, only communications between Van Zandt and or its counsel and Stephanie Jones and Jones Works LLC and or their counsel, and the subpoena in question from last fall, as well as the documents produced as a result of that subpoena. Well, good old Ezra, one of the attorneys for the shamtastic and shameful actress, just responded to that motion to compel. And even though Van Zandt is Blake Lively and or Ryan Reynolds, her lawyer wants the judge to know, quote, "We note that this firm does not represent Van Zandt for the purposes of the Van Zandt subpoena that is the subject of this motion to compel. Van Zandt is represented by the Zuckerman LLP firm per the certificate of service on the motion. This letter is not intended to be a response on behalf of Van Zandt, but is rather provided for informational purposes to the court and the parties." They're such magnanimous people. However, the real juicy bit and the meat and potatoes is this part. Ezra Hudson tells Judge Lyman, quote, "We write to alert the court that the motion to compel omits critical information that creates a materially misleading record. Specifically, Ms. Abel seeks to compel Van Zandt to produce, among other things, 1. A copy of the subpoena served by Van Zandt on plaintiff Jones Works LLC in the matter Van Zandt versus Doe's 1 through 10, New York Supreme Court Index, blah, 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 the Van Zandt subpoena, a subset of Request 10. And 2, the documents Jones Works LLC produced in response to the Van Zandt subpoena, a subset of Request 11. Listen up. The motion omits, however, the fact that Miss Abel and the other Wayfarer parties have been in possession of the subpoena and documents produced in response to that subpoena since no later than May 16th, 2025. What? Team Pinocchio has told the judge they already handed over the Van Zandt sham subpoena and more last month, no later than May the 16th. That letter to the judge was filed today. Ellen Garofalo filed her letter and a sworn declaration yesterday. Remember what I just told you? Ezra Hudson, Pinocchio's attorney, says Miss Abel and the other Wayfarer parties have been in possession of the subpoena and documents produced in response to that subpoena since no later than May 16th, 2025. Well, in her sworn declaration just filed this week with the judge, Baldoni and Abel's lawyer, Ellen Garofalo, says, quote, "As of the date of this filing, June 24th, Van Zandt has not produced a single document responsive to Ms. Abel's requests. I declare under penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct." Well, shoo. Either Ellen Garofalo is lying or Ezra Hudson is lying. This is big. This is crazy. If the Van Zandt subpoena and documents were handed over last month, surely they must have a way to trace that and confirm it, right? I'm inclined to believe it. To be continued. All right. I needed this little pick-me-up of drama. My fam, thoughts? Let's discuss all we've learned and anything else, everything in the comments section. Stop the presses. Stop the press. Who says that anymore? P.S. And this is a big one. I just had like a light bulb go off literally before I hit publish. Baldoni's attorney says, as of the date of this filing, Van Zandt has not produced a single document responsive to Ms. Abel's requests. Ellen Garofalo told the judge that she had a series of meet and confer conferences with Van Zandt's counsel. That is not Ezra Hudson. It is possible that both sides are telling the truth here. Per her attorney, the Woody Allen apologist did hand over on May 16th a copy of the Van Zandt subpoena and all documents produced by Jones Works LLC in response to the Van Zandt subpoena. But Ellen Garofalo swore in her declaration she's not received anything from Van Zandt, and she was in communications with the Van Zandt attorneys. Semantics, but it's important in law. They want documents from Van Zandt itself. And they must believe that Van Zandt has additional or different, or just to confirm true and correct, right? Because Blondie and her team handed over copies. They might want to see the real thing. Maybe, metadata might prove something else. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. So maybe both sides are telling the truth. Maybe both sides are lying. I'm confused now. Let us all continue this conversation together in the comments section.